everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in today's video I thought I would talk about whether bearded dragons are solitary animals or not, because there is quite a lot of controversy about this topic, and I just wanted to kind of put my input on it and how to be safe with your decisions on how you house your bearded dragons, I guess. So there is a lot of controversy about whether one or two bearded dragons can be kept together, as you know, they do it in pet stores, I guess, and people think that bearded dragons get lonely, or like all pets get lonely, I guess. They think the same kind of thing. It is just our instinct to care for our pets, so people do think that bearded dragons get lonely and therefore need a companion. However, this is false. Bearded dragons do thrive better on their own, for many reasons really. The main one being feeding. When they're feeding, one of them can get dominancy and then the other one might not eat, and some people don't really realise this. If they feed their bearded dragons and go out the room, they aren't seeing which bearded dragon is eating how much. But obviously if it's monitored or you separate them to feed, then this issue is obviously solved. So that's one main issue with cohabitation. Another one is that one bearded dragon can take up all of the light and heat. So one of them could sit on the other one. Some do that to show dominancy, and then obviously the one underneath isn't getting any heat or light. They can also just take up all the space in the vivarium or tank, especially if it's smaller and there isn't as much space. So one of them can bully the other one, I guess. It's to do with dominancy, you know, in a pack or herd or anything like that. It's the same things apply. So that's another issue about them getting enough heat and enough light, etc. Another really big issue is fighting. So bearded dragons do show aggressive behaviours if they do feel threatened. So this can be an issue if there is a standoff between two bearded dragons, because obviously in the wild they're always on lookout for their predators, like birds and big animals, etc. Dogs as well. So they're constantly kind of on the lookout because obviously they need to have their guard up. So if another animal is in their vicinity, this can trigger those behaviours to arise, I guess. So such as biting, head bobbing, beard flaring. Things like this are all very bad signs. If this does start to happen with your bearded dragons, you do need to separate them immediately. Especially boys and girls, they should never be placed together because obviously breeding can occur. It's fine if you have the space for all the babies, possibly, and you're able to rehome them, but in some places in the world they're overbred and it's just a bad idea to start breeding your bearded dragons at home. So really, just for precautions really, you want to separate your male and female beardies. When bearded dragons are up to 8 weeks old, you can't tell their gender, and it's really takes quite a while to be able to distinguish which gender they are, like almost up to a year. So while they're this young, you can't really tell, and it's actually okay to cohabit bearded dragons like they do in the pet stores, because they haven't got their behaviours through yet, they haven't matured, and you can't tell what gender they are, so they're usually fine with each other. However, when it gets to older, as they get older, like 6 months and older, this is when their behaviours start to come in and you will want to separate them. So bearded dragons are mainly solitary animals. They have no issues being on their own. Humphrey has had no issues, and if they have human interaction, this is usually good enough and this is what they actually need. Obviously if you want to cohabit, it's your choice, but it's risky. Okay, what my viewpoint is, why risk something when it could be okay a different way? So just having two different vivariums is much better. And people actually say if they have two vivariums that are opposite each other, the bearded dragons go crazy trying to attack the other one. So think about what could have happened if they're together and you aren't there to witness that, because that's what they see when they witness it. They aren't there all the time monitoring them. So people can say, oh, my bearded dragons have had no issues together, but you're not there 24/7, so you don't know what's going on. Sometimes it does get very bad, and claws can be bitten off, their ends of their tails, arms. It gets very gribbly and eyes might have to be removed. I've seen quite a lot of this, and especially even with baby bearded dragons, you see it quite a lot. So this, as I said earlier, it's not usually with the smaller bearded dragons, but it can happen. If one of them is very dominant and they're fighting, you just want to separate them immediately because it's not worth the risk. Some people say, oh, well, it hasn't happened yet, I'll deal with it when it happens. And in my opinion, that is very ignorant, because why would you want to wait for something like that to happen? Why would you want to wait for your bearded dragon and your pets to get harmed when you could just separate them and it would be fine? So I'm not completely siding here because obviously it's your choice. I'm not a channel that will be harsh about my opinions. I try and state fact, so I try and state both sides, but in my opinion I just find it better to separate them because it's just not worth the risk, in my opinion, to harm Humphrey or another bearded dragon if I was to get one. So they can be housed together. Some people say siblings can be put together and they are less likely to fight, but in my opinion it's the same principle. So it's really your choice, but I wouldn't, if it was me, it wouldn't be worth the risk. In my opinion, it's better to have bearded dragons alone in a vivarium because it just prevents them from losing out on food, heat and any limbs, I guess, and fighting, which adds stress as well to your bearded dragon, and it can actually make them very ill if they're constantly stressed. And if the less dominant one is stressed, worrying about the dominant one, this can really impact their health, so that is another negative part of cohabitation. But as I say, it's your choices, and this is just kind of a few viewpoints of people and my viewpoints, I guess. So yeah, I hope this video did help you guys in deciding, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye!